Hey, Anthony.
Yo.
If you have the time, we could do a show here.
South, I'm almost finished with the solve. I failed on air.
Yeah. Listen,
Embarrassing.
you know, like some people take failure as more like a obsessive challenge type deal, and
But South, I had 2 minutes.
yeah,
I can do this in under a minute.
I know we've all seen you and everything, but you know, you couldn't do it when it mattered. I think that's what you need to.
I can do it under a minute, South.
You know, but we just can't keep wasting valuable FreightWaves TV screen time with you in this.
Look! I'm doing it, South.
Okay. All right. Put it down, Anthony.
Hello, everyone. This is Economy Lately, and I'm Anthony Smith, Chief Economist here at FreightWaves, and I'm joined by the one and only South Turk. And
hey, now,
South, it's been a time in the economy.
Oh yeah, it usually is. It usually is always a time.
It's always a time, and I mean, there's some stuff that we got to talk about. You know, some stuff we got to cover. I mean, it hasn't been a huge week in developments and macro openings, but really, I mean, we're going to talk about durable good orders. We're talking about initial jobs claims and market changes. But really, when it comes down to it, it's just like this expectation and the reasons for concern and reasons for optimism. And I've been on calls and I tell people, you know what? If you're optimistic, I can see why. You know, you can point out a few different things to say, hey, this is why I'm optimistic. I'm like, you know what? You're pretty, spot on with your reasons for optimism. And then there's people like, hey, you know what? I'm really pessimistic about how it looks right now, and here's why. And I think they all have a lot of great points. But then you kind of come together, and it's just like it all comes down to timing. And that's what it's all about, South.
Okay, timing. Yeah.
And speaking of timing, I can do this, South, in under a minute.
All right.
Easily.
Okay. All right. The economy has to. Okay. All right.
All right, so I guess we'll jump into it.
Yeah. Why don't we do that, Anthony?
All right, so let's just jump into it then, starting it off with our first thing, and that's going to be durable good orders. And so what we saw was that there was a 4.5% downward movement for the month, but really when we're looking at what happened within the report, there was some volatile movement. So we're looking at the non-defense aircraft parts. That was down 54.6%. So that's going to be a wild and volatile one, just much like our buddy Christian Thomas. And we also saw that transportation equipment was down as well, 13.3%. So these are industries or segments, of course, that matter to us because we have to haul them and it's going to matter to freight. But really, the timing of it all really kind of... the cube just comes to me, so
All right.
I'll put it down. It's fine. But we're looking at some of those industries. It's like showing that there is still demand. So when we look at computers and other appliances, things like that, there was some growth overall. So overall, there is still some momentum happening within manufacturing. It's just that when you look below the report's headline numbers, there's going to be some volatile movements like aircrafts and stuff like that.
Okay.
Next thing we have to talk about is the ISM PMI. So what we saw there was that, hey, it's still in contraction. So we're sticking with the theme of upstream activity and manufacturing. And when we look at the ISM PMI, we see that there was a change to 47.7 percentage points, still in contraction territory. New orders did tick up slightly to 47.0, still in contraction territory. But one of the interesting things that came up was prices now at 51.3. That's up 6.8% for the month. And South, that is a pretty substantial movement. I mean, we're looking at the overall changes. The new orders component is really something that you're going to have to kind of take into account. I mean, when you look at new orders, it leads into production, then production goes into shipment, and then it all comes back down to freight. And South, that's what it all comes down to. I mean, this is FreightWaves, not, Rubik's Cube's waves.
Yeah. There's like meetings for this, right?
For
You're
what?
anonymous.
Like Cubers?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, for Cubers. Yeah, it's called Cubers Anonymous.
That's what they call them, the Cubers.
Cubers Anonymous.
I want to join the Cubers Club. That's what I'm going to do. Remember that movie, The Cube?
Yeah, The Cube. Yeah, Canadian horror indie classic.
Yeah. Oh, man, that was a classic. We got to get back on track here.
All right,
so the other big thing that we saw for the week was initial jobs claims still remained in the below 200,000 mark. So it's still very tight, really, overall. So jobless claims are low. And that would be one of the areas that people would point to as, hey, this is why the economy is doing well. The job market can support it. We're still under 200,000. This is like the 5th or 6th or 7th week straight that it's been under 200,000. So that's a good sign. But really, South, when we're looking at what's going on in the freight market, I mean, it's kind of toxic how I think some companies approach it, because it's like, hey, the market's changing and it's different. It's a different market than we saw in 2022. We all know that. It is what it is. It's just obvious. But the thing is like, especially my hat goes off to truck drivers because they get the short end of the stick all the time, especially the smaller operations, owner operators, things like that. But really brokers as well, because if you're in a sales position and you were just, making tons of money for your company throughout this, the pandemic and a little bit after the pandemic, but now the market changes and they're kind of pointing at you like, hey, you know what, you got to change your quota. We're going to bump up requirements and this is on you. It's not the market, but really it's the market. And it's kind of toxic to make it seem like it's the person. And layoffs happen. I know it's unavoidable sometimes. I mean, it's avoidable, but sometimes it can be unavoidable. And, it's just really how you go about it that kind of changes everything.
Now, when you say toxic, do you mean like Britney Spears toxic or like the Toxic Avenger?
Toxic Avenger?
You know what? Never mind. Don't worry about it.
Is there a Toxic Avenger that I haven't been paying attention to? Is that what Marvel's doing?
Just YouTube it later.
Are we talking about Palestine, Ohio? What's going on here?
I cannot talk about that according to my lawyer. So,
were you involved with that?
Remember, we were. You know what? Never mind.
I don't know what you're talking about. So
all right. Yeah.
I have never been to Ohio in my life, but I will be there in Cleveland, Ohio, for our upcoming Future of Supply Chain South. Are we allowed to go back to the state?
Future of Supply Chain.
Are we allowed to go back? Can FreightWaves take us there?
Tickets on sale now. Go to freightwaves.com/events.
Be there, be square.
Yeah. Or cubed.
Cubed. See you on the next episode.